The average American commuter spends 42 hours per year stuck in traffic. In Los Angeles, that number is over 100. Over a 40-year career, that's 70 days of your life stuck in a traffic jam. Traffic is terrible. That's probably one of the only things that CEOs, blue-collar workers, environmentalists, speed demons, soccer moms, liberals, and conservatives can all agree on. Traffic congestion costs the US economy $305 billion per year, wastes billions of gallons of gas, causes an inordinate amount of stress and anxiety, cuts into family, leisure, work, sleep, and exercise time, and is generally awful. It's no surprise that we spend a lot of resources trying to fight traffic congestion by expanding road capacity, building public transportation, and building homes near businesses. But we're usually fighting a losing battle. Traffic persists in cities all over the world, rich or poor, and dense or sprawling. The reason for this is due to something called induced demand. Once traffic gets bad enough on a road, more people are discouraged from using it. For example, let's just say that you're willing to drive 30 minutes to your favorite restaurant. It usually takes 20 minutes without traffic, but there's some Friday night congestion going on and it will actually take 40 minutes. That's above your tolerance, so maybe you'll wait for the traffic to die down, find a back way, go to a closer restaurant, take the train even though you prefer driving, or just stay home. In a big enough city, there are many thousands of other people like this who would use the road if there wasn't traffic, but aren't using the road because of the traffic. Maybe it's a short-term decision like deciding where to go out to eat, or maybe it's a long-term decision like deciding where to live and work or where to build new developments. Expanding the road usually means more cars will flood in until it gets back to the same equilibrium. And if it's a major highway being expanded, secondary streets will also become more congested with more cars getting on the highway. Now, I'm not in any way saying that expanding roads is always a bad idea. It does mean more people get where they want to go, and obviously there's only so much induced demand that can take place. 99.9% of roads don't have traffic problems, and it's possible that a road in a small city with minor congestion problems can benefit from being expanded. Bigger roads can also help with fringe rush hour traffic, and not to mention that expanding rural interstates from 2 to 3 lanes does help with the 2 trucks passing each other for 10 minutes type of traffic. However, the idea that big cities with serious traffic issues can just build themselves out of congestion with 48-lane highways isn't going to work. There's just a practically infinite amount of induced demand during rush hour. It's largely the same story with public transportation and living closer to work. As some people reduce their distance driven, other people will fill up that space. Now, I am absolutely not saying that building public transportation is bad. It's great for the people who use it, and it increases a city's capacity for movement. People may tolerate slightly less traffic if there's an alternative, but it's not going to magically evaporate all traffic congestion. People just generally prefer the comfort and convenience of a private car until the traffic gets unbearable. You may have heard of traffic waves, which form when traffic is heavy but moving and somebody brakes and sends a wave of braking backwards as people overreact. This is a source of traffic, and I do think you should try to maintain a constant speed, not tailgate so much, and not make any sudden movements in heavy traffic. However, the idea that this is a sole cause of traffic is ridiculous. Ultimately, there's a limit of how many cars can get through a bottleneck. Okay, but what about self-driving cars? Won't they expand road capacity by like 273%? Well, self-driving cars are coming, whether you like it or not, and will ultimately expand road capacity and will probably solve traffic in some cities. But it's highly unlikely that Los Angeles will turn into some sort of traffic paradise. People will prefer the convenience of cars even more than they already do, will tolerate longer commutes, and will tolerate slower traffic speeds. Not to mention that there will be zero occupancy vehicles driving around. Self-driving cars will make traffic better in the sense that you can play on your phone in a traffic jam, but I doubt that they are going to be the silver bullet of traffic. However, I do think the paradigm shift will open up discussion about the real solution to traffic, a solution that's guaranteed to work and achievable with today's technology. And that solution is variably priced toll roads. Now, before you close this video in rage at the thought of paying for something that's currently free, consider this: traffic jams are communist. Really, traffic jams are no different than Soviet breadlines or all-day waits for gas in Venezuela. When the government provides something of value with limited capacity for free, there are going to be shortages and people won't use it at an economically efficient level. I'm sure you're familiar with the basic concept of supply and demand. As the price for a good goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. The idea of a variably priced toll road is that the toll is set so the amount of traffic is just below the threshold for congestion. This is guaranteed to get rid of traffic if done right. If traffic starts to get too heavy, the price goes up. If more cars can be let on without causing congestion, the price goes down. The price might be zero if there's no more demand, such as during off-peak hours. It's important to note that this is for chronic too many cars on the road congestion. Obviously an accident could cause a traffic jam when you're already on the road, but this wouldn't be any more common than on a normal free-flowing highway. Also, this will work. It's not a debate. You can always raise the price if too many cars are getting on, and if it's high enough, some of them will be discouraged from using the road. It's the one and only solution to traffic that's guaranteed to work. This is a very good idea from an economics perspective. Something most people don't think about is that when you're in traffic, you are the traffic. You are taking up space on a valuable roadway and aren't paying for it. Markets work most efficiently when negative costs are internalized. The toll is basically internalizing your externality. Okay, so maybe variably priced toll roads will get rid of traffic, but you probably have many concerns about their effect on society. Let's just get the politically feasible compromise out of the way. If you don't like the idea of full toll roads, toll lanes offer the ultimate freedom and best of both worlds. You can pay to bypass the traffic if you value your time more, or sit in the traffic if you value your money more. The biggest concern you probably have is, hey, I don't want to pay for something that's free. But here's the thing, the tolls don't actually have to be that high. The thing you have to understand is that traffic congestion is exponential. In a traffic jam, removing only a few cars will drastically increase average speed. And once the road degrades to gridlock, the vast majority of people are discouraged from getting on the road anyway. You don't have to be a genius to see how stupid and grossly inefficient this is. If you could just prevent the last 20% of people from getting on the road, the traffic jam would disappear and 80% of the people who would be using the road anyway could still use a road but without traffic. People are surprisingly responsive to even minor changes in pricing. It's not usually about getting people to make major life changes, but rather to nudge people to not travel during rush hour, to carpool, to combine trips, or to not do something they were borderline on doing. For example, Stockholm, Sweden implemented a toll of only 1 to 2 euros to enter the city, and traffic was reduced by 20% immediately. When interviewed, people didn't even claim that they changed their behavior at all, but they did. In Washington, the peak rush hour fee to save 27 minutes was $5.75, and keep in mind that it was cheaper the majority of the day. You also have to remember that sitting in a traffic jam is not really free. You're paying with your time, and that is economically inefficient. You also spend money on wasted gas and extra maintenance. You also may be concerned that this inherently limits the number of people who can get on a highway. And if you live in a car-dominated city, does that just mean that 20% of people can't get to work? Well, no. Believe it or not, some idiots actually drive during rush hour even though they don't need to. Also, a variably priced toll road would encourage carpooling way more than HOV lanes, which are largely ineffective. Most importantly, however, controlling the number of cars getting on a highway with pricing actually increases the traffic volume or number of cars getting through a road in an hour. One toll lane in California actually carried 40% of the total traffic on the road because more cars were getting through. The highest traffic volume speed is about 45 miles an hour, which means that the most people can use a road at that speed. When traffic speed dips below that, the road is operating below peak capacity, so variably priced toll roads would actually allow more people to get to work. Think about it, in a traffic jam, cars aren't passing a fixed point as quickly as during free-flowing conditions. Okay, that's great and all, but you hate poor people, and these will just turn into Lexus lanes. While wealthier people do use toll lanes more than poor people, it isn't by a landslide as you might think. One analysis of toll lanes in California found that plenty of lower income people actually use the toll lanes. When you think about it, lower income single moms don't exactly have a lot of time to waste sitting in traffic and often work hourly jobs where they won't get paid if they're late. Remember that the fees aren't actually that high, especially compared with the many other costs of driving. Regardless, toll lanes won't actually slow down the normal lanes. More traffic volume will get through the toll lanes, and the regular lanes should at the very worst be exactly the same as they were before. Even if you still think this is just another way for rich people to buy themselves out of all the world's problems, remember that they are the ones voluntarily paying for the road. Okay, but I already pay enough taxes and the government is just stupid. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. However, the gas tax, which is supposed to fund roads, hasn't been raised since 1993 despite a lot of inflation, so gas taxes have effectively been getting lower for the past quarter century. Many road projects are now underfunded, and tolls provide a solution to that, which, let's be honest, is why some states are experimenting with it in the first place. Besides, it makes economic sense for the users to pay for a service. Increasingly, roads are paid for by general sales taxes, which is both economically inefficient and very regressive. So if you want to talk about hating poor people, it's where we're at now. I'm not going to pretend like the government is good at implementing stuff like this, but toll lanes have successfully worked in the past, and an imperfect one is better than nothing. Roads have to get funded somehow, and I'd rather pay and get some time savings immediately than pay a more regressive sales tax and get seemingly nothing. It's important to note that there is a cost to implement toll lanes, so for a road with a small and intermittent traffic problem, they may not be a good idea, but for a road with major traffic issues, the benefit will far outweigh the installation cost. One final thing, what about freedom of movement? Well, I personally wouldn't call a crippling traffic problem freedom of movement, and to be clear, I'm generally not in support of toll roads if there isn't a traffic problem. There are 4 million miles of roads in America, and I think 99.9% of them should be free. When a road has a chronic traffic problem, it's only fair if people have to pay to use the valuable space before ruining it for everyone. Also, self-driving cars will drastically increase road capacity, and with some proper pricing, we can truly live in a traffic-free future with plenty of room to expand. For one reason or another, many people are fervently against variably priced toll roads. Maybe you don't like entire toll roads, but I don't see any reason to not like toll lanes. The concerns are largely overblown and pale in comparison with the economic and social costs of traffic congestion. It's astonishing that people are willing to blow through their entire paychecks on overpriced junk they'll use once, yet cringe at the idea of paying a few dollars to skip a traffic jam. If you want to spend your money rationally in a way that will actually make you happier, save time. Maybe there's some status quo bias going on here. Imagine you live in a parallel universe where there's no regular traffic. You have to pay to get on the interstate during the day, but it's only a couple of dollars and it seems just as natural as buying bread. It's a very small part of your budget. Then all of a sudden some idiot politician comes along with this brilliant idea to save everybody a few dollars per day at the small cost of spending an entire work week per year frustrated in a traffic jam when you used to be relaxing at home. Would you support that politician? Maybe you would, but I know I definitely wouldn't. Thank you for watching.